Hello and welcome to A Greener York, brought to you by PowerStream. I'm your host, Megan Cote. On this episode, we meet brothers Jack and Angelo Felici, founders of the packing company Easy Crate. Reporter Julia Batchelor heads to Flextronics in Newmarket to see their new solar panel manufacturing setup. We meet eco-champion Matt Sterju, and we introduce you to fashion designer AYLA Hosrashahi. We've got a pretty cool show ahead. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. AYLA Hosrashahi isn't your typical fashion designer. For one, her background isn't in fashion design. It's in social justice and human rights. AYLA founded her line on the belief that fashionable clothing can incorporate the ideas of social justice, human rights, and environmental stewardship.
My past work in human rights really gives me a lens in which I view any sort of business or endeavor I undertake, especially with the idea of looking at the apparel industry. And the more you look in depth, unfortunately, the uglier it is.
To give you an idea of how ugly this industry is, consider these facts. Today, some 8,000 synthetic chemicals are used throughout the world to turn raw materials into textiles. A report released by Greenpeace International titled Dirty Laundry discovered that textile production was responsible for 20% of the pollution in 70% of China's rivers, streams, and reservoirs. The World Bank identified 72 toxic chemicals in the water supply near manufacturing plants, 30 of which cannot be removed. Growing cotton for the industry accounts for 1/4 of the world's pesticide use and is one of the most water-dependent crops. It takes about 1,800 gallons of water to produce the cotton that goes into one pair of blue jeans. Polyester, the most commonly produced fabric, is derived from petroleum. It requires large quantities of crude oil and, when processed, releases volatile organic compounds into the atmosphere. And the majority of textile and clothing production occurs in developing nations where there is little or no legislation regarding either workers' rights or environmental protection. And the demand for textiles is increasing. Industry analysts predict global consumption of textiles will exceed 127 billion tons. For AYLA, wanting to be part of this industry, but also not wanting to contribute to the problems surrounding the industry, she devised a very simple but incredibly creative solution. Take the textiles and garments that already exist and give them new life. Build a line centered on the concepts of rescue and revive.
This means that all the pieces are one of a kind. It means all the pieces are handcrafted. This also incorporates this idea of slow fashion by making sure that every piece you take, it's its own statement. It's not rushed, it's not produced by a season. It's really a piece of art that you produce in a form of clothing. So when I take the material, my creative process really is inspired by the piece itself usually. Especially vintage pieces, there's a lot of story behind each of them, and I can really think of how to bring this story to the modern day. For the rescued pieces, which these are mostly waste materials, the process for this is a little different. This is when I really might have a vision already, or like have sketches and have an idea of what I want to produce.
AYLA's idea of making handcrafted quality pieces harkens back to an era where people consumed a lot less and the items they owned were meant to last. Today, fashion is created and consumed at a breakneck speed and is discarded with the same alarming rapidity. In North America alone, approximately 12 million tons of textile waste is generated each year, and according to the Environmental Protection Agency, the average person throws out more than 68 pounds of clothing annually, and 85% of that clothing is going directly to landfills.
The line ultimately promotes slow fashion, and in that meaning that the way that it's produced and the speed that it's produced won't be so rapid and probably won't be so grand, because the practices to me are more important than the amount of output. Do I wish that it has a huge impact? Definitely, but I think the impact is more to add to the voice of this movement than to my line specifically. A year ago, my mom came into retirement actually. Her background is in microbiology, and through a process of finding what to do in retirement, she started to make jewelry. And as she describes it, it's her meditation. And as I started to see her pieces, I realized that not only the aesthetic was beautiful, but her processes were exactly the same as the way that I was making the clothing. All the jewelry is either the idea of the revived or the rescued processes that I discussed before. I felt that it was just perfect to incorporate together with the line. And again, it falls in line with everything else that the brand promotes, that this idea of anything is possible, combining your worlds, combining your passions, and really listening to your heart and allowing your creativity to soar. I read once in an article that said, this business isn't less profitable than the other fashion industries or less possible, it just takes a lot more work, and I think that's what it is. It has to have a lot of commitment from the designers, from the manufacturers, it has to have a commitment to see this through, and that's when it becomes completely ideal to collaborate with the community that promotes these ideals, because we become supports for each other on how to bring these visions to life.
When you're purchasing your next wardrobe item, consider the following. What went into making this piece? How big of an environmental impact did it have? How much do I really want or need this, and how long will I keep it? When you start asking yourself these questions, you become a more conscientious consumer, and this will lead to seeking out manufacturers and designers such as AYLA, who want to provide fashionable apparel that is both responsible to the environment and accountable to the people. To learn more about the AYLA apparel and accessories line, please visit our website for details. Did you know the second biggest user of energy in your home is your refrigerator? So if you're looking to upgrade any appliance to a new Energy Star qualified model, you may want to start there. A 1986 model uses approximately 1,400 kilowatt hours per year, and a modern efficient fridge uses only 350 kilowatt hours. That's a 75% reduction in energy use. The Save on Energy fridge and freezer pickup program offered by PowerStream will help you haul that old clunker out of your home for free and will ensure that it gets recycled responsibly. To be eligible, your fridge or freezer must be 15 years or older and between 10 and 27 cubic feet, and it must be in working order. You also need to be at least 18 years of age to sign for the appliance release and ensure that the fridge or freezer is being picked up from a home with clear access and wide enough doorways for the technicians to be able to remove the appliance. The benefits of participating in this program are numerous. First off, you're getting rid of an appliance that could be costing you up to $125 a year to run. Secondly, proper disposal means the appliance won't end up in a landfill. All of the toxic chemicals are diverted from the environment, and any plastic or metal parts will be recycled into new items. And you can guarantee that appliance will never be drawing power from the grid ever again. Another great part of the program is if you're getting your fridge or freezer picked up, PowerStream will also remove any old AC units and dehumidifiers as the secondary appliance. And as one of the biggest users of energy in the home, upgrading your air conditioner to a high-efficiency model is not only good for savings in your pocket, but it also reduces energy consumption on the grid and benefits the environment. So what are you waiting for? Call today and make an appointment to have that old fridge or freezer removed from your home and start seeing a reduction in your electricity bill today. For more information on the fridge or freezer pickup, as well as PowerStream's other Save on Energy incentive programs, visit www.powerstream.ca/conservation for details. Coming up after the break, we meet eco-champion Matt Steerju. Stay tuned to A Greener York, brought to you by PowerStream. We'll be right back. It's true that the small things done by each and every one of us on a daily basis do make a difference. But some people just think bigger, and that's what our next eco-champion is like. Matt Steerju is involved in many local green initiatives in his hometown of Bradford, like raising money for solar panels for his high school's greenhouse. One of the events that really shaped Matt's life was the Al Gore Environmental Leadership Seminar he attended, and now he's spreading the message about why saving the environment needs to be done today.
I'd say the biggest environmental activity that I have been involved with was when last summer I went to Nashville, Tennessee with 25 other students from all around the world, and we actually got a chance to meet with the former U.S. Vice President Al Gore, and he taught us his climate change presentation. And when it first got sent back to Earth, it kind of sent this revelation to everyone, and it showed us in our entirety, and that we're not an infinite system, we're a finite planet. And this was an organization that he started after he'd left office to really try and spread the message of climate change to people all around the world. And he did that through a very grassroots way to train people so that they would go back to their communities and give this presentation and spread the knowledge of climate change and get people to take action. So my part of this was he taught us this slideshow, which was based off of An Inconvenient Truth, a movie he directed, I believe in 2006. And once he taught me that presentation, I went back to my community, I spoke at different schools, and I still plan to speak to over 10,000 students by the end of next year. My first steps, I would probably say, was in grade 7 when I had a really great teacher teach me how everything in the world is interconnected and that what we do can affect places all around the world. And this made me think about my environmental impact, and as I began to think about it more, I began to get more involved. I grew up in Bradford, a middle-class family, and you know, I've always been connected to nature in a way, you know, going camping, going on hikes, going on walks, even just around town. Pretty normal. I like school, I like hanging out with my friends. My family, at first they were, you know, weren't really that into it. It was kind of like, yeah, if we're in the Walmart, we'll buy the eco-friendly paper towel. But over time, we started to be more environmentally friendly, you know, eating less meat to help the environment, you know, different things we could do, walking more. And it really, a lot of people say it's difficult, but I think that as you start doing it, it really is not that different from just what we did before. An important thing to think about is that if we don't do anything now, the cost of doing something later is going to be a lot higher. Well, there's a lot of things you can do to live a greener life. I mean, I could go off and mention right now all the different products you can buy, all the different energy efficiency things you can do, but it's one thing to change your light bulbs, but it's another thing to change the laws. And I think that Canadians really need to start getting involved in our democratic system, speaking to politicians about this very serious issue. Environment Canada recently said in a report in early August that the government needs to work 10 times harder just to meet our certain greenhouse gas emission targets, and that's clearly not good enough. So Canadians really need to get involved in politics and make sure they tell their MPs that the environment needs to be a priority. We all need resources, and as we continue to consume and consume, we're eventually going to run out of resources.
Do you have a big move coming up in your near future? Are you looking for ways to reduce the amount of waste generated by that move, namely by the numerous cardboard boxes you're going to need? Well, the company Easy Crate is here to help you simplify your move by providing you with rented, durable, reusable moving boxes. Brothers Jack and Angelo Ferlisi started Easy Crate because they wanted to create a system that made the arduous task of moving easier, more efficient, and greener.
We've noticed that everyone was using cardboard boxes, going to grocery stores, scrounging for boxes, or even buying boxes. And after, you know, seeing the amount of waste that goes to the landfills from purchasing cardboard boxes, you know, we thought there must be a better way.
When you measure the carbon footprint of a cardboard box against a plastic one, surprisingly, the plastic box comes out ahead. It actually takes 4 times the amount of energy to produce paper over plastic. Paper production emits 70% more air pollution and 50 times the amount of water pollutants than plastic production. To produce 1 ton of cardboard, it takes 17 trees, 79 gallons of oil, over 7,000 gallons of water, and 42,000 kilowatts of energy. And although highly recyclable, it takes 91% more energy to recycle 1 pound of paper over 1 pound of plastic. And cardboard does have its limitations.
Cardboard boxes can be used typically, 2 to 3 times. Once they've been used and they've been, destroyed, they're no longer functionable, so they end up in the landfills.
On the other hand, the Easy Crate boxes can be used up to 400 times.
The plastic is a type 2 plastic, which means that it's fully recyclable in the province of Ontario and for the most part the country. So once the boxes have taken a beating and been used up a few hundred times, we'll recycle the boxes and then they will melt the boxes to produce new boxes.
Easy Crate offers different rental packages to accommodate your moving needs. Plus, they will deliver and pick up the boxes once you're finished with them. The company also partners with reputable moving companies like No Problem Movers that are attracted to the idea of greening up the moving sector.
We're looking for something that was eco-friendly as well. And, we go through a lot of boxes, cardboard boxes, and this way we go through the plastic and it's reusable. And the customers love it and it's easy for them as well.
I think a lot of customers are loving the idea that it is green, it is a green concept, that these boxes aren't ending up in your landfills. And I think they feel good about that. I think our challenge has been to even just promote the concept and promote that we are out there and there is another alternative to cardboard.
So the next time you have a big move, consider the idea of renting your supplies. You won't need to worry about sourcing out the appropriate boxes or having to worry about the end use of the item once you're finished with it. It's simple, easy, and best of all, it's a greener choice. Coming up after the break, reporter Julia Batchelor visits Flextronics, the first manufacturing plant in York Region to make solar panels. We'll be right back after these brief messages.
Thanks to a recent partnership between MEMC, its subsidiary SunEdison, and Flextronics, over 100 jobs have been created in the green technology sector right here in York Region. Flextronics' Newmarket plant is now manufacturing MEMC branded solar panels for SunEdison's PV solar projects.
Every solar panel that rolls off the assembly line will be used exclusively by SunEdison for solar array installations here in Ontario and across Canada. Having the panels manufactured here enables SunEdison to meet the 60% domestic content requirements under the Feed-in Tariff system, a program that is part of the provincial government's Green Energy Act, which pays a set amount of money per kilowatt hour of clean renewable energy generated. The Green Energy Act also encourages growth in the renewable and clean energy manufacturing sector to boost Ontario's economy.
We've committed to 50,000 new jobs by the end of 2012, and we are well on our way.
Minister of Development and Trade, Sandra Pupatello.
This really does show everyone that real jobs are the economic benefit of having a provincial government moving towards environmental policy. We're phasing out coal-fired generation. That's the dirty kind of pollution that causes all those hazy days. Kids can't breathe, more children with asthma. This is a really important big step to clean up the environment. At the same time, we turn that into an economic policy and create jobs, create facilities like this where we actually build the products ourselves to handle the green energy.
Well, what this tells us is that there is an opportunity to diversify the type of manufacturing that we're doing. People will still need to build cars. What this does is it gives us an opportunity to build things that will talk about energy conservation, about alternative energy sources, and create long-term sustainable jobs for our community.
With all coal-fired plants slated to be shut down by 2014, the question is, how big of a role will solar play in energy production here in Ontario?
I think that solar will play a critical role, particularly in that peak usage time during the middle of the day. It's likely to be in the 20% range as we go forward of total energy production in a balanced system.
It's going to continue to grow. So in 2010, about 40 gigawatts of solar was produced into the marketplace. In November of 2011, that projection now is 64 gigawatts, so a large increase in just the past year. And most electricity companies out there have a solar portfolio where they're now mandated to be able to deliver a certain percentage of their overall energy portfolio into solar. And a lot of these guys are being driven to generate up to 20 or 25% of their entire energy portfolio produced through green energy, and a lot of that's coming through solar. So we expect the 64 gigawatts that were produced in 2011 to continue to grow.
We think that this really is a new frontier for North America, and Ontario is at the cutting edge. So we're building a green energy industry because North America is slowly going to turn their energy policies green. Then here we are waiting to look and service all of those other places with the products that are made right here in Ontario. So we're there first, we get really good at it, and then as other states in the U.S. start developing green energy policies, there's Ontario just waiting to ship our products down south.
Solar panel is made from an assembly of photovoltaic cells that are wired in a series to produce current and voltage. And the panels that are manufactured here can produce 280 watts of power, which is enough energy to operate a 42-inch LCD flat-screen TV.
So production, we have about 5 or 6 stages of manufacturing here, starting with the raw glass themselves, going through a wash, and then from there we're able to take the individual solar cells. As we said, there's 72 of them. They're stringed together on 6 strings of 12 cells. In there we'll have a robot place it automatically onto the glass, align it properly. Then from there you're able to add a bus bar and some manual components through there. And then we're going to run through what's called lamination, and that's pretty much to bake into the panel. That'll give it a nice seal through everything else. Through there we're testing it, making sure the voltage readings are okay. Then we're going to go ahead and frame the product. And then after that point we actually have a sun simulator here that we're actually going to go ahead and have a large machine actually simulate the sun's energy to be able to flash the panel, and that's what's giving us our power reading, and that's how we're able to rate the panel. And in this factory we produce 280 watt panels.
Currently, the number of solar installations is still quite small, due in part to the cost of startup. But President of Sun Edison, Mark Mendenhall, says with the increase in manufacturing right here in the province, that will begin to change.
The panels continue to come down in cost. And in fact, our parent company, MEMC, makes the actual wafers and modules that go into the panels. So we continually drive down both the cost of the panels as well as drive up the efficiency. The net effect of that is to drive down the cost per watt produced of solar energy. But as solar continues to catch on, as it continues to go down in cost and become more and more competitive with the other traditional means of producing energy, you're going to have more people involved in the entire supply chain. So we see this as just a beginning of the partnership of these 3 companies, but we see other partners coming on board as well. So far, our commitment to Canada in particular, not only in the way of jobs, but in terms of investment. We are one of the largest investors of producing solar in Canada that exists in Canada. We've already installed about 40 megawatts of solar installations in the OPA area in the Ontario province. So we see this as an ongoing partnership with our company and all of Canada, both by the terms of investment, creating new jobs, and bringing clean energy to the country.
The panels that are being produced here represent about 116 megawatts of annual panel capacity, and this facility has the capability to amp that up to around 200 megawatts. And MEMC and Flextronics see this as a long-term investment in York Region to help facilitate a sustainable green economy for the foreseeable future. If If you'd like to learn more about Sun Edison, MEMC, or Flextronics, you can visit our website for details.
Once again, we've come to the end of another show. Thanks for tuning in. If you want to learn more about anything you saw in today's program, visit us online at www.rogerstv.com/agreeneryork. If you'd like to comment or have a question, give us a call or send us an email to agreeneryork@rogerstv.com. Thanks again for watching A Greener York, brought to you by PowerStream. I'm Megan Cote, and remember, together we can make our community a greener place to live. I'll see you next time.